Imagine this. Your car breaks down, a sudden medical bill arrives, or even worse, you lose your job. Life throws financial curveballs when you least expect them. Are you ready for it? Shockingly, nearly 40% of Americans aren't prepared for an unexpected $400 expense. Stick with me, and by the end of this video, you'll know how to build a foolproof rainy day fund while discovering the hidden psychological tricks that can reshape your financial habits. This isn't just about saving money, it's about securing your peace of mind and financial future. What is a rainy day fund? A rainy day fund is your personal financial shield against unexpected expenses. Money specifically set aside for emergencies. Unlike a regular savings account or a long-term investment, this fund is easily accessible and reserved strictly for those moments when life decides to throw you an expensive curveball. Think of it as your financial insurance policy. It's not about the big stuff, like saving for retirement or a dream vacation, but about handling the small to medium-sized financial crises that can quickly derail your budget. Let me tell you a story about Sarah. She's a school teacher, and one winter, her car broke down on the way to work. The repair costs were over $1,200. Money she didn't have. Without a rainy day fund, she had no choice but to put it on her credit card, leading to months of debt and stress. Now, imagine if Sarah had just $500 in her rainy day fund. She could have covered a good portion of the repair without accumulating debt, giving her more breathing room during an already stressful time. Why is a rainy day fund important? Why do we need a rainy day fund when we could just use a credit card or tap into savings? Here's where psychology plays a significant role. Studies have shown that people tend to be overconfident in their ability to handle financial emergencies. Behavioral finance tells us that we are wired for short-term thinking. Our brains prioritize immediate rewards over long-term planning. This is why building a rainy day fund isn't just a financial practice. It's a psychological exercise in rewiring our natural tendencies toward impulsive spending. There's a fascinating concept in behavioral economics called mental accounting, which is the tendency to categorize and treat money differently depending on its intended use. For example, people are more likely to spend money that's labeled as bonus income than money they've set aside for emergencies, even though it's all the same money. By creating a rainy day fund, you're mentally categorizing those funds as untouchable, which helps prevent you from spending them frivolously. A recent study found that people with at least $1,000 in their rainy day fund reported significantly lower levels of financial stress compared to those with no emergency savings. What's even more striking is that these individuals were less likely to rely on high-interest debt, like credit cards or payday loans, to cover emergencies. The conclusion: having even a modest rainy day fund can make a huge difference in your overall financial health and mental well-being. How much should you save? How much should you actually save in a rainy day fund? While the conventional wisdom is to have at least 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses set aside, that goal can feel daunting, especially if you're starting from scratch. But don't be discouraged. Start with a smaller, achievable target, such as $500 to $1,000, which will cover most minor emergencies like car repairs, home maintenance, or medical bills. Once you hit that initial milestone, continue building until you've covered your essential expenses for at least 3 months. Here's an interesting breakdown. According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the average monthly living expense for an individual in the U.S. is about $3,000. That includes rent, groceries, utilities, transportation, and healthcare. So, for 3 months of expenses, you're looking at a goal of around $9,000. But let's break it down further. If you save $300 per month, you'll hit your 3-month emergency savings goal in 2.5 years. However, by cutting just $50 from unnecessary expenses each week, you could accelerate that timeline significantly. Think of John, a single father who started with just $100 in his emergency fund. Over time, he committed to saving $50 per week by cutting back on dining out and reducing his streaming services. In less than a year, he had over $2,500 saved, enough to cover 3 months of rent if he ever needed it. By starting small and staying consistent, John created a safety net that gave him peace of mind. How to build a rainy day fund. Now that you have a target, how do you actually build this fund? The key is to treat it like a fixed expense. Just as you budget for rent, groceries, and utilities, make saving for your rainy day fund non-negotiable. Automate it. Set up automatic transfers from your checking account to a dedicated savings account each payday. This way, you're saving without having to think about it, just like how some people automatically contribute to their retirement accounts. Automation is powerful because it takes advantage of a psychological phenomenon called inertia bias. Essentially, once a decision is set in motion, like an automated savings transfer, we're less likely to stop it. So, even if you don't feel like saving, the automation ensures that the habit continues regardless of your mood or mindset that day. Here's another fascinating stat. A 2022 study by Fidelity found that people who automate their savings are 25% more likely to reach their financial goals compared to those who save manually. Automation removes decision fatigue and ensures consistent progress toward your financial safety net. Where to keep your rainy day fund? Now, where should you keep this fund? You want it to be easily accessible but not so tempting that you dip into it for non-emergencies. A high-yield savings account or money market account is a solid option. These accounts are liquid, offer better interest rates than a standard savings account, and aren't linked to your checking account, reducing the temptation to spend. Think of it like this. Susan, an avid online shopper, once kept her emergency fund in her regular checking account. Every time she saw a tempting sale, her emergency savings took a hit. Eventually, she opened a high-yield savings account at a different bank, where the transfer of funds would take at least a day or two. This small inconvenience saved her from countless impulse purchases and helped her maintain her rainy day fund for real emergencies. Here's an additional tip. Some people prefer to keep their rainy day fund in an account that doesn't have immediate access via debit cards or checks. The extra step of needing to transfer funds creates a psychological barrier that prevents unnecessary withdrawals. It's an example of using financial nudges, small tweaks that steer behavior in the right direction without restricting freedom. Maintaining your fund. Once you've built your rainy day fund, how do you maintain it? The key is discipline. If you have to dip into the fund for an emergency, prioritize replenishing it as soon as possible. Treat it as a top priority in your budget, just like paying off debt or investing. Life will continue to bring unexpected expenses, and having a replenished fund ensures that you're always ready for what comes next. Here's a compelling fact. According to a study from the University of Southern California, people who regularly replenish their rainy day funds report a higher sense of financial control and well-being. It's not just about the money, it's about the mindset of being proactive rather than reactive with your finances. Conclusion. Building a rainy day fund is more than just a financial strategy. It's a form of self-care. It's your safety net, your peace of mind, and your financial resilience all rolled into one. By setting aside money for life's inevitable challenges, you're not just securing your financial future, you're taking control of your present. So, what's your next step? Start small, stay consistent, and watch your fund grow over time. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to Archivist Animates for more deep dives into financial strategies that can change your life. And hey, we want to hear from you. How are you planning to start or grow your rainy day fund? Share your thoughts in the comments below. We'll be responding to as many as we can.